Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this video, we will discuss language acquisition models. One of the three second language acquisition model is socio-psychological model. Actually, there are three, and in broader sense, you can say that these are different approaches by different linguists and psychologists about second language acquisition, that how the people they learn second language at at a later stage of their lives. So we are not talking here about uh, the small kids, but actually we are talking about the adults when they start learning a language in second language environment. So there are three models, and we will discuss in this video socio-psychological model. This second language acquisition model was introduced in 1973-74 by Lambert, and he focused on social and psychological aspects. Social, mm, it is apparently it means, and actually it means also that in a society or in a gathering or in an environment where a minority group or the the people who do not speak the dominant language they live, and what impact that society has on their minds. And the psychological aspects means the personal motivation level of the learner, that how psychologically he or she adopts, the learner adopts uh, himself or herself in the environment of target language. Target language here means the second language. Uh, for example, we most of the Pakistanis they go to Saudi Arabia for work. Uh, I mean, almost every third home in Pakistan, or in every street or in every family, someone from the family must be there who's there in UAE or in Saudi Arabia. Most of the labor class go there for earning. Uh, when they go to Saudi Arabia or UAE from Pakistan, so whether it's a Sindhi speaker, Punjabi speaker, Pashto, Balochi, whatever the native languages or Urdu speaker, so anyone living in Pakistan do not have any knowledge of Arabic language. And just as we have the Arabic language that we read Quran, we read we offer prayer, namaz, and that Arabic language we know. And most of us we do not know even the translation, because most of us we read Quran without translation, and everyone must read the translation to understand it, because Quran is a book of guidance by Allah Almighty. But as a matter of fact, talking about this specific topic, that we do not have a knowledge of Arabic language, as we must have to communicate with an Arabic speaker. But when the people from Pakistan they go to Saudi Arabia, they start living there, within few days they start speaking Arabic language, not with a rapid pace, not with very fluently, but few of the sentences they learn, and they start communicating with them and start living them. And most of the people who are, they are laymen, they are uneducated, they move from Pakistan to there for work, but when they spend 5 years, 4 years, or 6 years in Saudi Arabia or UAE, they become fluent Arabic speakers. They can easily communicate with them. So this is the social environment. When they move from, a Pakistani goes to Saudi Arabia, where the majority group is Arabic language and the minority group is Punjabi or Sindhi language, whatever the language of the person is who has moved from Pakistan to Saudi Arabia. So in this way, you can understand that there is a majority language group and there is a minority language group. So in Saudi Arabia, Urdu speakers, Punjabi speakers, they are minority language, and Arabic speakers, they are majority language. Now, Arabic language will be the dominant language or the target language because they have to communicate in it. Now, if we discuss the psychological aspect that a man who has moved from Pakistan to another country, specifically to Saudi Arabia, so what are the psychological factors that motivates him to learn language? Because they have to live there, they have to communicate with them in simple words. So the psychological aspects are also there in this model of socio-psychological. The focus is on social and psychological aspects. Then we have um, the definition of this model is given here, or some explanation that there is a linguistic cultural group. A man moves from one group to another. One linguistic cultural group is Pakistan, and one linguistic cultural group is Saudi Arabia. Man who is living here, he has an having an other culture and other language. But when he moves to another country, as I have given you example of Saudi Arabia, there the culture of the Arabic people is different from Pakistanis, and definitely the language is also different. In this way, uh, so what would be his attitude towards the other group? Attitude towards the other group here means uh, the majority group, where the man is going, where the person is going, what the language he has to learn specifically. So and when his attitude actually towards the majority language group, it determines his motivational level, because ultimately it is the motivation or motivational level that forces a man or that compels a man to learn a language. And not only learning a language, I mean in every aspect of your life, in your studies, in your technical education, in your daily routine matters, you want to achieve the targets of your life, whatever it is, the the main or the basic, the root cause of attaining any target is your motivational level. Unless and until we are motivated to achieve something, we cannot achieve that. So motivational level, how this motivational level comes, it comes from the social and the psychological aspects, specifically from the psychological aspects, that a man who's a person or a learner who is motivated from his inner self, and he starts learning a language. In this video, we are because we are studying applied linguistics and we are talking about learning a language, but in broader sense, in simple words, you can say motivational level is the most motivational factor, is the most important factor in each and every aspect of your life, and that determines your success or failure. Definitely, if your motivational level is higher, you will be successful, man. If you are least motivated, then there is always a failure in learning the language, a new language. Uh, there is ability and motivational component. Ability is something that you have your own competence, you have your own capability, ability to learn a language. Just take an example of a classroom where 50 students are sitting. One gets 95% marks, uh, tops the class, first position, or 4 by 4 CGPA. The others they get 3.5, 3, 2.5. So there is a variation. This is like few of the learners, they have less ability to learn a language, and few of them they have higher ability to learn a language. But when we talk about language, second language acquisition, here, to some extent, we can say that the ability of the learners is almost parallel, is almost equal. As I gave you the example of the people who moved from Pakistan to Saudi Arabia, most of them they are from labor class and they even do not have their matriculation certificate. I mean, they have hardly gone to school. So, but when they go there, all of them, almost all of them, they learn language. Few of them they learn at an earlier stage, few of them they spend months, and few of them they spend fewer months to learn. But not years they take to learn. Within months and within weeks they can learn. So it matters. Ability matters. Yes, it matters in life that if you are more competent, you can learn a language more easily and without wasting time, without wasting more time. But if you are not very much intelligent, definitely you will take more days to learn it. And then that is the ability and the motivational factor, or the motivational level. One person who is very capable to learn a language but he is not motivated to learn it, then the ability is useless. But one person who is not mentally that much intelligent or capable but he is motivated to learn it, definitely he will learn it. Like uh, in second year class in our colleges in Pakistan, we have, in Punjab specifically, we have our uh, one chapter in English, that is why boys fail in college. If you don't, if somebody doesn't remember it, then you must consult a book of second year, a class, first year and second year college class, FSC, ICOM, FA, second year. Why boys fail in the college? Where is the in that chapter a class is mentioned, a typical class of the students is mentioned, those who are very much competent at their school level, but as they enter into college, the writer says that they lose interest and they are overconfident of their abilities, that we can learn a language without we can pass the exams without any efforts, but at the end they are failure. So the same criteria you can apply here in learning a language, that you are much more intelligent, you have the ability, but you are not motivated to do it, then you will not learn a language. But many of the students from the school, those who have got less marks or hardly managed to pass the school, when they enter in college, they start working hard. Although they are not competent, they are not very intelligent, but they are highly motivated to pass the exams, and resultantly they pass the exams. To just relate passing the exams with learning a new language, that if you are motivated you can learn a language without wasting time. And the motivation level is definitely, it is social and psychological perspective, as we discussed earlier, that if the social environment is favoring you and you are psychologically motivated to learn a language, then it will be more easier for the learner. And then language is our identity, a variety of attitudinal variables, ability and linguistic factors that we have already discussed, that there are linguistic factors, there is ability of person, ethnic relations. Ethnic relation here means that how much relationship, how good relations the minority group of minority linguistic group develops with the majority linguistic group. Then we move on, that how this socio-psychological model works. In this socio-psychological model, first of all, we have attitude. Attitude simply means thinking about something or behaving like. When we say that he has bad attitude and good attitude, bad and good attitude means that your behavior towards specific things, whether it can be good, it can be bad. And orientations means the interest to something, like if you have something, thinking, behaving towards something good, and your interest is more about learning a second language, then it leads to motivation. Attitude and orientation, if they are both these factors, they are positive in learner's personality, it leads to motivation. So, motivation is not only limited to attitude and orientation, but aptitude also. Aptitude means your natural ability. Natural ability means your competence, your intelligence, like how much time you spend to learn a new language. So, aptitude, it's a natural ability, and it leads towards proficiency. Uh, then we have motivation and proficiency. They lead towards self identity. Sorry, I mentioned here that motivation is linked to attitude and orientations, And aptitude is linked to proficiency. Proficiency means the efficiency to learn a language, that how much proficient you are, how much intelligent you are, how much motivated you are. Motivation means having the interest of something. Motivation and proficiency both leads towards self identity. Self identity means, here it means the language, your own language. That a Punjabi speaker, he starts learning, mm, speaking Urdu language, there will be influence of Urdu language on Punjabi. Like we, living in Pakistan, uh, our self identity is Urdu language. uh, let's talk about our national language, but the dominant language is English language. So whenever we speak Urdu, there are always the factor of code switching and code mixing. Code switching and code mixing, everyone knows that while speaking sentences of Urdu, sometimes we switch from Urdu and to English language, speak one or two sentences of English, and then come back again to Urdu. And sometimes we use specific words of English language while speaking Urdu, because the language which is dominant, it is always having an impact on your own language. So what happens at the end, that the dominant language, it actually occupies, it dominates the minority group language, or the language which is not dominated. Like Urdu, you can say that it is dominated by the English language in Pakistan, in India, also in Bangladesh, in all the colonies where Britain they ruled. So English is having dominance. Now self identity, definitely it means recognition. Self identity means to identify yourself, to have your own identity, recognition of yourself. It moves to additive bilingualism and subtractive bilingualism. So in, you can say, attitude and orientations, like thinking towards something and interest towards thinking about the target language or second language, interest about the second language, it leads towards your motivation. If your attitude and orientation is good, it will be, you will be having a positive motivation, higher level of motivation. And aptitude, your natural ability, competence, it leads to your proficiency, that how much time or how early you can learn a language. That sometimes a student who takes 6 hours to read a book, a student who takes 6 days to read a book, and a student is there who reads 6 weeks to read a book. So in the same way, one who is more having more aptitude, having more natural ability, they can learn language in like 1 month, some in 2 months, and some in 3 months. So it varies according to your natural ability. And motivation and proficiency both, they lead to self identity. And self identity, actually it leads to additive bilingualism and subtractive bilingualism. Additive bilingualism means that learners, they learn a language without harming their own language. As I told you, like when we start learning English language, it has so much dominance on Urdu that uh, we we try to speak few words of English language just to, mm, just to show that, you can say, to show off to the listeners that we have much more knowledge of the dominant language. You can find out it all around that those who do not know how to speak English language, they try to speak it by adding few words, and most of the times they add very I mean awkward words, and they try to make new words from, with the mixture of Urdu and English. As I give example to my students always, that they say that uh, I felt gadbadation. So from gadbad, a Urdu word, they have made an amalgam of gadbadation. So this is a harm to the language. This is subtractive bilingualism, that your own language is being targeted by the second language. But additive bilingualism means that no harm is done to your own native language and you learn a second language. So the best example is when the Pakistanis, they move to Arabic countries, they start learning Arabic, but whenever they are speaking Punjabi, Urdu, Sindhi in Pakistan, they do not use even a single word of Arabic language. So that is additive bilingualism. And then it is subtractive bilingualism, means that it is related to some harm or ethnic, like your ethnicity or your own language, your own natural language is always at a risk by the dominance of other language. So in socio-psychological model, we can say attitude and orientations lead towards motivation, aptitude towards proficiency, and now motivation and proficiency both lead towards self identity. And self identity can be can have additive bilingualism or subtractive bilingualism.